Chapter 1. The Mysterious Pawn. The Grand Hall of the Royal Chess Club was adorned with rich tapestries and gleaming chandeliers, casting a warm glow over the polished wooden tables set for the prestigious London chess tournament. The room buzzed with excitement as chess enthusiasts, grandmasters, and spectators from around the world mingled and chatted in anticipation of the competition. Anya Ivanova, a striking figure with sharp, intelligent eyes and a determined stride, entered the hall with a mix of excitement and apprehension. She had traveled from Russia to compete in this renowned tournament, her first major international event. Her dark hair was neatly tied back, and she wore a tailored suit that complemented her poised demeanor. As she moved through the crowd, Anya's gaze was drawn to the tournament's centerpiece, a grand chessboard set up in the center of the room, its pieces gleaming under the chandelier's light. It was a beautiful, ornate board, a testament to the game she loved so dearly. Professor James Whitaker, the tournament organizer, approached her with a warm smile. "Welcome, Miss Ivanova. We're honored to have you here. Your reputation precedes you." "Thank you, Professor Whitaker," Anya replied, returning his smile with one of her own. "I'm excited to be part of this event." As she spoke, a shadowy figure in a dark trench coat and fedora emerged from the periphery of the room. The figure seemed to drift through the crowd, unnoticed by most. Anya felt a shiver run down her spine as the figure's gaze locked onto hers. For a fleeting moment, their eyes met, and the figure's cold, enigmatic eyes seemed to bore into her soul. Anya felt a strange unease settle over her. She glanced away, focusing on the bustling atmosphere of the tournament. As she did, she caught a glimpse of the shadowy figure slipping out a side door. A few moments later, Anya's attention was drawn to a well-dressed man who appeared beside her. His attire was impeccable, his demeanor calm and collected. He handed her a small envelope, marked with an intricate seal. "This was left for you," the man said before walking away without another word. Anya examined the envelope, her curiosity piqued. The seal was embossed with a symbol she did not recognize a pawn. Surrounded by flames, she carefully peeled it open and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The message was written in elegant, flowing script. "The game has begun, but beware, the stakes are higher than you know. Trust no one, and keep your wits about you. The Queen's Gambit will reveal more than you expect." Anya's heart raced as she read the message. It was both cryptic and unsettling. The Queen's Gambit was a well-known chess opening, but its mention in this context was disconcerting. She tucked the note back into the envelope and glanced around the room, searching for any sign of the mysterious figure or the well-dressed man. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden burst of applause as Professor Whitaker took the stage to give the opening speech. The crowd's attention was momentarily diverted, but Anya couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. As the tournament began, Anya took her seat at one of the chessboards. Her opponent, a distinguished grandmaster from France, greeted her with a nod. The game commenced with a flurry of moves, each player demonstrating their skill and strategy. But Anya's mind was elsewhere. The mysterious message lingered in her thoughts, casting a shadow over her concentration. She couldn't ignore the feeling that there was more to this tournament than met the eye. The first round of the tournament concluded with Anya's victory, but the sense of foreboding remained. As she packed up her things, she noticed the shadowy figure once more, this time lurking in the dimly lit corridor leading to the back rooms. Anya's curiosity got the better of her. She followed the figure, her footsteps echoing softly in the quiet hallway. As she rounded a corner, she saw the figure slip through a door marked private. Without hesitation, Anya approached the door and carefully pushed it open. Inside, she found herself in a small, dimly lit room filled with chess trophies and memorabilia. The figure stood at a table, their back turned to her. "Who's there?" Anya called out, her voice steady despite the unease she felt. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face partially hidden by a hood. "You shouldn't be here," the figure said in a low, menacing tone. "This is not your fight." Before Anya could respond, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving her alone in the room. Anya's heart pounded as she scanned the room for any clues. On the table, she noticed a chessboard with a partially completed game. The pieces were arranged in a pattern that seemed almost deliberate. As she examined the board, a chill ran down her spine. The pattern of the pieces formed a message, though it was obscured by the surrounding chess pieces. Anya knew she had stumbled upon something significant, but what it meant remained a mystery. Determined to uncover the truth, Anya left the room and returned to the tournament hall, her mind racing with questions. She knew that the tournament was just the beginning of a much larger game, one that would test her skills and unravel a dangerous conspiracy. As the night fell over London, Anya Ivanova prepared herself for the challenges ahead. Little did she know, the Queen's Gambit was only the opening move in a high-stakes game, where the price of failure was far greater than she could imagine. Chapter 2. The London Underground. The following day, the London skies were overcast, casting a gray pallor over the city. Anya Ivanova navigated the bustling streets toward the Royal Chess Club, her mind preoccupied with the cryptic message from the night before. She was determined to unravel its meaning and understand the mysterious warning. The tournament resumed with fierce competition, but Anya's focus was divided. Between matches, she found herself engrossed in research, trying to decode the pattern she had seen on the chessboard in the secret room. Evelyn Carter, her loyal friend, was her sounding board and occasional partner in this investigation. In the midst of this, Evelyn excitedly approached Anya, holding a stack of newspapers. "Look at this," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. "There's a report about a recent increase in gang activity around London. It mentions the Triad." Anya's pulse quickened. The Triad was exactly what the shadowy figure had warned her about. She skimmed through the articles, which detailed a series of violent incidents and a new wave of smuggling operations linked to the Triad. One particular article caught her eye, a photograph of a chessboard similar to the one she had seen in the secret room, with a caption about a prestigious tournament being used as a cover for illicit activities. Determined to learn more, Anya and Evelyn decided to explore the areas mentioned in the reports. They ventured into the less glamorous parts of London, where the streets were narrow and the buildings aged and grim. The contrast between the opulence of the chess tournament and the gritty reality of these neighborhoods was stark. As they wandered through an alleyway near one of the reported crime scenes, Anya's keen eyes caught sight of a familiar face. A man in a dark suit and sunglasses, standing near a doorway and speaking in hushed tones. He seemed out of place in this part of town. Anya's instincts told her he was involved in something dubious. Evelyn and Anya discreetly followed him from a distance. The man entered a building with a flickering neon sign that read Billiards Club. The sign was faded, and the building looked neglected. Anya and Evelyn exchanged glances. "We should check this out," Anya said, her voice barely a whisper. Evelyn nodded, and they approached the entrance. Inside, the atmosphere was smoky and dimly lit. The clatter of pool balls and murmur of voices filled the air. Anya and Evelyn carefully made their way to the back of the room, where they spotted the man at a corner table, deep in conversation with a rough-looking individual. Anya strained to hear their conversation. The words "shipment," "tonight," and "secure location" were clearly audible. It was evident that they were discussing something crucial, but Anya could not make out all the details. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted near the entrance. Anya turned to see a group of men, dressed in dark clothing and looking menacing, entering the club. They were Triad enforcers, recognizable by their intimidating presence and the tattoos visible on their arms. Anya's heart raced. She knew they had to leave before things escalated. She grabbed Evelyn's arm and led her towards the exit. As they slipped out of the club, they could hear raised voices and the sound of a scuffle behind them. Once outside, Anya and Evelyn took a moment to catch their breath. "We need to find out more about this shipment," Anya said, her voice urgent. "If the Triad is involved, it's probably linked to the smuggling operation." Evelyn nodded. "But how do we get more information without getting caught?" Anya thought for a moment. There must be a way to get close to their operation. Maybe someone inside the Triad could help us. Just then, Anya remembered the enigmatic figure from the previous night. It was possible that this person knew more about the Triad's plans. She resolved to seek out this mysterious individual and find out if they could offer any answers. Back at the Royal Chess Club, Anya and Evelyn spent the evening poring over chess puzzles and analyzing the pattern from the secret room. They noticed that the coordinates and times mentioned in the puzzles seemed to align. with specific locations in the city. It became clear that the Triad's smuggling routes were intricately connected to the tournament. The next day, Anya and Evelyn decided to investigate one of the locations mentioned in the puzzles. It was an old warehouse on the outskirts of London, an area known for its abandoned buildings and hidden secrets. They approached the warehouse cautiously, their senses heightened. As they peered through a cracked window, they saw several men unloading crates from a truck. The crates were marked with symbols similar to those on the chessboard. Anya's heart raced with realization. The smuggling operation was more extensive than she had imagined, and the chess tournament was just a front for a larger scheme. Suddenly, Anya and Evelyn heard footsteps approaching. They quickly hid behind some crates, their breaths shallow and tense. The men entered the warehouse, and Anya caught a glimpse of a familiar face among them, Li Wei, the former Triad member. Anya's mind raced. Li Wei could be the key to unraveling the Triad's plans. She knew she had to approach him carefully and gain his trust. As the warehouse doors closed behind them, Anya and Evelyn prepared to confront the former Triad member and uncover the truth behind the mysterious chessboard puzzle and the Triad's nefarious activities. Chapter 3. The Queen's Gambit. The London fog was dense as Anya Ivanova and Evelyn Carter made their way back from the warehouse. The city's labyrinthine streets seemed even more daunting under the veil of mist. Anya's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts as she considered the implications of what they had seen. Li Wei, Anya said, breaking the silence. If he's involved in the smuggling operation, he might be our best chance to get information. But we need to be careful. He's a former Triad member, and he might not be willing to talk. Evelyn nodded. We need a plan. Do you have any ideas? Anya considered their options. We could try to find him and approach him directly, but it might be risky. If we can find a way to make contact without alerting the Triad, it would be safer. Back at their temporary accommodation, Anya spent the evening working on the chessboard patterns and analyzing the clues she had gathered. The pieces on the board seemed to represent a map, with certain coordinates and times pointing to locations in London. The deeper she delved into the puzzle, the clearer it became that the Triad's operation was meticulously planned, with each move and counter move mirroring a chess strategy. As she worked, Evelyn interrupted her thoughts with a phone call. Anya, I've found something interesting. There's a chess club meeting tonight in a part of town that matches one of the locations on the board. Anya's interest was piqued. A chess club? That could be a front for something more significant. Let's check it out. The chess club was located in a quieter part of London, away from the tournament's glitz and glamour. It was a modest establishment, with wooden tables and a collection of old chess sets. The atmosphere was relaxed, but Anya sensed an undercurrent of tension among the patrons. Anya and Evelyn entered the club and mingled with the crowd, pretending to be interested in a casual game. As they observed, Anya noticed several individuals who seemed to be more interested in the comings and goings of the patrons than in the games themselves. One man in particular caught her attention. He was tall, with a sharp suit and a demeanor that suggested he was someone important. Anya approached him, pretending to be a chess enthusiast interested in discussing strategies. Good evening, Anya said, her voice calm and friendly. I'm Anya Ivanova. I've recently moved to London and am keen to join the local chess community. The man regarded her with a keen eye. I'm Richard Moreau, he said, extending his hand. I oversee this club and its events. It's always a pleasure to meet a fellow chess enthusiast. Anya and Richard chatted about chess openings and strategies, all the while keeping an eye on his reactions. It became apparent that Richard was more than just a chess organizer. His knowledge of the game was extensive, and he seemed to have connections beyond the club. As the conversation progressed, Anya subtly steered it toward the topic of high-stakes games and unusual strategies. Richard's interest was piqued, and he leaned in closer. You know, some games are not just about the board. They involve a lot more strategy, deception, and sometimes significant stakes. Anya's curiosity was aroused. What kind of stakes are you referring to? Richard's expression grew serious. There are some games where the outcome can affect more than just the winner's ranking, but that's a topic for another time. If you're interested, you might want to come to a special event we're hosting next week. It might give you a better sense of what I'm talking about. Anya's heart raced. This special event could be connected to the Triad's operations. I'd be interested. Can you provide more details? Richard handed her a small card with the event details, which included a location and time. Anya made a mental note, her mind already racing with possibilities. As Anya and Evelyn left the chess club, they discussed their findings. Richard seemed to hint at something more than just a chess game, Evelyn said. Do you think this event could be related to the Triad's activities? I believe so, Anya replied. We need to investigate further and see if it's connected to the smuggling operation, but we should be cautious. If the Triad is involved, it could be dangerous. The following day, the tournament resumed, and Anya found herself facing a challenging opponent. The matches were intense, and each game tested her strategic skills. Despite the pressure, Anya remained focused, using the tournament as a cover for her investigation. During a break between matches, Anya received a message from an unknown number. The Queen's Gambit is more than a move. It's a signal. Be ready. Anya's heart skipped a beat. The message reinforced her suspicion that the chess tournament was intricately tied to the Triad's plans. She knew she had to be prepared for whatever was coming next. That evening, Anya and Evelyn made their way to the special event hosted by the chess club. The venue was a nondescript warehouse, far removed from the elegance of the tournament hall. The atmosphere inside was charged with an air of secrecy and anticipation. As they entered, Anya and Evelyn found themselves among a select group of attendees. The room was filled with hushed conversations and the occasional clinking of glasses. Anya's eyes scanned the room for familiar faces and potential clues. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, and a spotlight illuminated a large chessboard set up in the center of the room. The board was covered with intricate chess pieces, each one meticulously crafted. Anya's heart raced as she realized that this event was more than just a chess game. It was a high-stakes spectacle with serious implications. Richard Moreau took the stage, his demeanor commanding attention. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. Tonight's game is not just about strategy and skill. It's about making the right moves and understanding the stakes. As the crowd watched, the game commenced, and the pieces began to move in a complex and mesmerizing pattern. Anya's mind raced as she tried to decipher the moves and their significance. The Queen's Gambit was more than just a chess opening. It was a key to understanding the Triad's plans. As the game unfolded, Anya and Evelyn observed closely, trying to gather any information that could lead them to the heart of the smuggling operation. The evening was a blend of intrigue and tension, with each move on the chessboard seeming to echo the moves being made in the shadows. By the end of the night, Anya and Evelyn had gathered valuable insights and clues. They knew that the Queen's Gambit was more than just a chess move. It was a signal for something much more significant. As they left the event, Anya's mind was already working on the next steps. The game was far from over, and she was determined to uncover the truth behind the Queen's Gambit and the Triad's nefarious plans. Chapter 4: The Pawn's Sacrifice. The following days were a blur of chess, matches, and covert investigations for Anya Ivanova. Each game in the tournament became increasingly intense, as her focus shifted between her opponents and her search for clues. Evelyn's role as her support was invaluable. She helped sift through the information and kept a watchful eye for any signs of danger. On the third day of the tournament, Anya received a cryptic message from Li Wei. Meet me at the old warehouse by the docks tonight. I have information that could change everything. Be careful. The urgency in the message was palpable. Anya and Evelyn decided to take a risk and follow Li Wei's instructions. As night fell, they made their way to the old warehouse, the fog rolling in thick and heavy around them. The warehouse was dimly lit and abandoned looking. The sound of creaking metal and distant waves crashing against the docks added to the eerie atmosphere. Anya and Evelyn entered cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the empty space. In the center of the warehouse stood Li Wei, his face partially obscured by the shadows. You came, he said, his voice low and cautious. I didn't think you would. Anya stepped forward. We're here because we need to know what's going on. The Triad's plans are becoming clearer, but we need more information to stop them. Li Wei looked around, then motioned for them to follow him to a secluded corner of the warehouse. I have some documents that might help, he said, pulling out a folder from his coat. But we need to be quick. The Triad has eyes everywhere. As he handed over the folder, Li Wei's demeanor shifted. There's something you should know. The Triad is planning something big, a heist that involves more than just smuggling artifacts. They're going after something much more valuable. Anya opened the folder, revealing detailed maps, schedules, and a list of high-profile targets. This is crucial information, she said, her mind racing. But what exactly are they planning to steal? Li Wei hesitated, his face clouded with anxiety. There's a powerful artifact, the Dragon's Eye Amulet. It's an ancient Chinese relic with immense supernatural powers. The Triad believes it will give them unprecedented control. Evelyn's eyes widened. We've heard rumors about the amulet. If they get their hands on it, the consequences could be catastrophic. Li Wei nodded. That's why I'm helping you. I want to stop them, but I need your help. There's a security system at their hideout that's almost impenetrable. You'll need to bypass it to get to the amulet. Anya and Evelyn exchanged glances. We'll do whatever it takes, Anya said, but we need a plan. Li Wei agreed and quickly sketched out a rough blueprint of the Triad's hideout. It was a heavily fortified location, with layers of security and guards stationed throughout. You'll need to enter through the service tunnels, Li Wei explained. The main entrance is too heavily guarded. Once inside, follow the map to the amulet's location. I'll provide you with a code to bypass the security system. As they were about to leave, the warehouse door suddenly creaked open, and the sound of footsteps approached. Anya's heart raced. We've been compromised, she whispered. We need to go now. They hurriedly left the warehouse, the cold night air hitting them as they raced towards their car. The urgency of the situation made their escape even more frantic. Once they were safely inside the car, Evelyn looked at Anya with concern. Do you think they saw us? Anya shook her head. I'm not sure, but we can't afford to take any chances. We need to move quickly and prepare for the heist. The next day, the chess tournament continued, and Anya used the distraction of her matches to prepare for the mission. Evelyn helped her with the logistics, arranging equipment and devising a plan for bypassing the security system. The night of the heist arrived, and Anya and Evelyn, dressed in dark clothing and equipped with the necessary tools, approached the Triad's hideout. They used the service tunnels as planned, navigating the maze of passages with Li Wei's blueprint as their guide. As they reached the security system, Anya entered the code provided by Li Wei. The system's lights flickered, and a soft beep indicated that they had successfully bypassed the security measures. They continued through the hideout, evading guards and staying out of sight. Finally, they reached the room where the Dragon's Eye amulet was stored. The amulet was displayed in a glass case, its jade surface glowing softly. Anya's breath caught as she approached it. Evelyn set up the equipment to disable the alarms and remove the amulet from its case. Just as they were about to complete their mission, a sudden noise echoed through the hideout. The Triad's enforcers had discovered their presence. Quick, we need to get out of here, Anya shouted, grabbing the amulet and securing it in a protective bag. They sprinted back through the tunnels, the sound of footsteps growing louder behind them. Anya and Evelyn managed to reach the exit and slip into the night, narrowly avoiding capture. As they regrouped at their safe house, Anya examined the Dragon's Eye amulet with a mix of awe and trepidation. The artifact's power was undeniable, but so were the dangers associated with it. This amulet is a game changer, Evelyn said, but we need to be careful. The Triad won't give up easily. Anya nodded. We need to figure out how to use it to our advantage and stop the Triad's plans once and for all. We've made progress, but the real challenge is still ahead. The pawn's sacrifice had been a crucial step in their mission, but the stakes were higher than ever. With the Dragon's Eye amulet in their possession, Anya and Evelyn prepared for the next phase of their battle against the Triad. Chapter 5. The Checkmate. Anya Ivanova sat in the dimly lit safe house, the Dragon's Eye amulet resting on the table before her. The ancient jade relic seemed to pulse with an energy of its own, casting faint shadows on the walls. Evelyn sat across from her, reviewing the notes they had gathered over the past few days. The tension in the room was palpable. We need to figure out how to use this amulet, Anya said, her voice laced with determination. If the Triad is after it, there must be a way to harness its power against them. Evelyn nodded. We should also consider the risks. Li Wei mentioned that the amulet's power comes with a curse. If we're not careful, we could be the ones who suffer the consequences. Anya's gaze remained fixed on the amulet. She knew they were playing a dangerous game, but there was no turning back now. We have no choice. If the Triad gets their hands on it, the damage could be catastrophic. We need to stop them, and this amulet might be our only chance. Their discussion was interrupted by a knock at the door. Both women tensed, but a quick glance through the peephole revealed it was Detective Marcus Lee. Anya opened the door, and Marcus entered, his expression grim. "We don't have much time," Marcus said, closing the door behind him. "The Triad is onto you. They know you have the amulet, and they'll stop at nothing to get it back." Anya's heart sank. How did they find out so quickly? Marcus sighed. "It's Li Wei. He's been compromised. The Triad found out he was helping you, and now they're using him to track you down. We need to act fast." Anya clenched her fists. "Li Wei risked everything to help us. We can't let his sacrifice be in vain." Evelyn spoke up, her voice steady. "We need to finish this, once and for all. The Triad's main operation is based in their underground headquarters beneath the chess tournament venue. If we can get in there, we can use the amulet to expose their entire network and take them down." Marcus nodded. "It's a risky plan, but it might be our only shot. We'll need to move tonight during the final round of the tournament. The Triad will be focused on the event, which gives us the perfect opportunity to strike." As the plan took shape, Anya felt a sense of resolve solidify within her. The upcoming chess match would be the most important of her life, both on the board and off. The final day of the tournament arrived with an air of anticipation and tension. The grand hall was filled with spectators, eager to witness the conclusion of the prestigious event. Anya took her seat at the chessboard, her opponent, Sergei Petrov, glaring at her from across the table. But Anya's mind was only partially on the game. As the match began, she kept her focus split between the board and the task ahead. Evelyn and Marcus were in position, ready to infiltrate the Triad's underground headquarters as soon as the opportunity presented itself. The match progressed slowly, each move deliberate and calculated. Sergei was a formidable opponent, but Anya's mind was sharp, honed by the pressure of the past few days. She knew she had to win this game to keep up appearances and buy time for the real mission. As the game entered its final stages, Anya spotted the signal from Evelyn. Now was the time to act. She executed a move that put Sergei in a defensive position, buying herself a few crucial minutes. Leaving the chessboard under the guise of a short break, Anya slipped away to the hidden entrance Marcus had pointed out. Evelyn and Marcus were waiting for her, and together they descended into the labyrinthine passages beneath the tournament venue. The air was cool and damp, the walls lined with old stone. Anya could feel the weight of history pressing in on them as they moved deeper into the Triad's territory. "We're close," Marcus whispered, leading the way. "The main chamber should be just ahead." As they reached the final stretch, they encountered the first wave of Triad guards. The fight was swift and brutal, with Marcus taking the lead and Evelyn providing backup. Anya, though not a fighter, held her own with quick thinking and the element of surprise. Finally, they reached the main chamber, a vast, dimly lit room filled with crates, weapons, and high-tech equipment. At the center of the room was a raised platform where the Triad's leader, Kai Zhang, stood, flanked by his most trusted enforcers. Kai's gaze locked onto Anya as she entered, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Ah, the chess prodigy," he said, his voice smooth and mocking. "I see you've brought the amulet. How convenient." Anya stepped forward, holding the dragon's eye amulet aloft. "Your plans are over, Kai. We're taking you down." Kai laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "You think a mere girl and her friends can stop me? You have no idea what you're dealing with." He snapped his fingers, and his enforcers sprang into action. The room erupted into chaos as Marcus and Evelyn engaged the enemy. Anya, clutching the amulet, focused on the platform where Kai stood. With a deep breath, she activated the amulet's power. The jade relic began to glow, its light intensifying as Anya directed its energy towards Kai. For a moment, it seemed as though Kai might resist the amulet's power. But then a look of shock crossed his face as the artifact's true strength overwhelmed him. Kai staggered, his body convulsing as the amulet's energy surged through him. The room fell silent as his enforcers hesitated, unsure of what was happening. "This is the end," Anya said, her voice steady and commanding. She channeled the amulet's power, releasing a burst of energy that shattered the platform and sent Kai collapsing to the ground. With Kai incapacitated, the remaining Triad members surrendered. Realizing the battle was lost, Marcus and Evelyn quickly secured the area, ensuring that the Triad's operations were dismantled. As the dust settled, Anya felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. She glanced down at the amulet, its glow fading as the energy within it was spent. The artifact had served its purpose, but at a cost. Marcus approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Anya. You stopped them." Evelyn joined them, her expression one of relief and admiration. "We couldn't have done it without you." Anya managed a tired smile. "It was a team effort. We all played our parts." As they made their way back to the surface, the sounds of the chess tournament still echoed above. Anya knew that the game was far from over, both in the world of chess and in the ongoing fight against those who sought power through dark means. But for now, they had won a decisive victory. And as Anya returned to the tournament, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The final round of the chess match awaited, but this time, she knew that the real game had already been won. Chapter 6. The Final Gambit. The Grand Hall was abuzz with anticipation as Anya Ivanova re-entered the tournament venue. The atmosphere was electric, with spectators and competitors alike on edge, waiting to see who would emerge victorious in the final match. Anya took her seat across from Sergei Petrov, her heart still racing from the battle beneath the arena. Sergei studied her, his expression unreadable. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" he said quietly, his voice carrying an unusual note of respect. Anya met his gaze, her own resolve hardening. "More than you can imagine, but I'm still here, and I'm not backing down." Sergei nodded, acknowledging her determination. "Then let's finish this." The match resumed, every move a careful calculation, every piece on the board a potential weapon. The audience watched in hushed silence, aware that this was more than just a game. For Anya, it was a symbol of everything she had fought for, the culmination of her struggle against the Triad, the sacrifices of those who had helped her, and the power of her own will. As the game progressed, Anya found herself entering a state of deep focus. The board became her entire world, the pieces moving as if guided by an invisible hand. Sergei was a formidable opponent, but Anya's mind was sharp, her strategy flawless. Move after move, she chipped away at Sergei's defenses, pushing him into a corner. The tension in the room mounted with each passing moment, the outcome hanging by a thread. And then, at last, Anya saw it a path to victory. She moved her queen into position, the piece standing tall and commanding. Sergei's eyes widened as he realized what was coming, but it was too late. With a final, decisive move, Anya declared, "Checkmate." The room erupted into applause, the spectators rising to their feet in a standing ovation. Anya felt a surge of triumph, the weight of her recent struggles lifting from her shoulders. She had done it. She had won. Sergei leaned back in his chair, a wry smile on his lips. "Well played, Anya. I knew you had it in you." Anya smiled back, grateful for his sportsmanship. "Thank you, Sergei. It was an honor to play against you." The two shook hands, a gesture of mutual respect that transcended the game. As Anya stood to leave, she caught sight of Marcus and Evelyn watching from the edge of the crowd, their faces filled with pride. They had won more than just a chess tournament. They had brought down a criminal empire and ensured that justice was served. But even as the victory sank in, Anya knew that her journey was far from over. The Dragon's Eye amulet was still in her possession, its power a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. There would always be those who sought to exploit the amulet for their own gain, and Anya would need to remain vigilant. As she stepped out into the cool night air, Anya took a deep breath, savoring the moment of peace. The city of Moscow stretched out before her, its lights twinkling like stars. She felt a sense of belonging here, among the challenges and dangers that had tested her to her limits. Evelyn and Marcus joined her, their expressions reflecting a mixture of relief and satisfaction. "You did it, Anya," Evelyn said softly. "You've proven yourself in more ways than one." Marcus nodded in agreement. "The Triad is finished, thanks to you. But we'll need to stay on guard. There are always more threats out there, more battles to fight." Anya looked at the amulet in her hand, its once bright glow now subdued. "We'll face whatever comes next together," she said with determination. But for now, let's take a moment to enjoy this victory. The three of them stood in silence for a while, the weight of their recent experiences settling over them. The night was cool and still, the city quiet beneath a blanket of stars. But Anya knew that this was only the beginning. There were more challenges ahead, more mysteries to unravel, and more enemies to face. She would need to be stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of peace, a moment to reflect on all that she had accomplished. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. As they walked away from the tournament venue, Anya couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation for what lay ahead. The dragon's eye amulet would remain with her, a constant reminder of the power she had wielded and the responsibility that came with it. But with Marcus and Evelyn by her side, Anya knew she could face whatever challenges came her way. Together, they would continue to protect the world from the forces of darkness, one battle at a time. And as they disappeared into the night, the city of Moscow slept, unaware of the battles fought and won beneath its streets, and the heroes who had emerged victorious against all odds. The shadow of the future. Several weeks had passed since Anya's victory at the chess tournament and the fall of the Triad. Life in Moscow had returned to a semblance of normalcy, but Anya knew that the peace was only temporary. One evening, as she sat in her apartment, Anya received an unexpected visitor. A tall, mysterious figure, clad in a long, dark coat, stood at her door, their face obscured by shadows. "Who are you?" Anya asked, her hand instinctively moving to the amulet. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face etched with the scars of countless battles. "I am someone who knows the burden you carry, Anya Ivanova. The dragon's eye amulet is powerful, but it is also dangerous. There are those who seek it even now, and they will stop at nothing to possess it." Anya's heart skipped a beat. "What do you want?" The figure's eyes glinted in the dim light. "To help you, to prepare you for what's coming. The Triad was just the beginning. There are forces at work far more dangerous, far more insidious." Anya felt a chill run down her spine. She knew that this was only the start of something much larger, something that would test her limits in ways she had never imagined. "Are you ready to face the shadows that lie ahead?" the figure asked, their voice low and foreboding. Anya squared her shoulders, her resolve unwavering. "I am. Whatever comes, I'll be ready." The figure nodded, a faint smile touching their lips. "Good. Then our paths will cross again soon. Until then, stay vigilant, Anya Ivanova. The future is uncertain, and the shadows are always watching." With that, the figure turned and disappeared into the night, leaving Anya alone with her thoughts. She knew that her journey was far from over, that the challenges ahead would be even greater than those she had already faced. But she was not afraid. She had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, and she would continue to fight, no matter what the future held. As the city of Moscow slept, Anya Ivanova prepared for the battles yet to come. Her heart steeled against the shadows that loomed on the horizon. The game was far from over, and Anya was ready to make her next move. Chapter 7. The New Game. The days following her victory at the tournament were quiet, almost too quiet for Anya Ivanova's liking. Moscow had returned to its usual rhythm. The city's bustling streets and glowing lights, masking the undercurrents of danger that she had become so familiar with. But the silence felt like the calm before a storm, and Anya couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing, just beyond her sight. The dragon's eye amulet had remained dormant since the fall of the Triad, its power no longer thrumming with the same intensity. Yet Anya kept it close, a constant reminder of the battles she had fought and the power she now held. She had won the tournament, dismantled the Triad's operations, and earned a hard-fought victory. But the amulet's secrets still weighed on her mind. One evening, as Anya sat by her window watching the cityscape, a soft knock on her door broke her reverie. She hesitated, her instincts on high alert. Ever since the encounter with the mysterious figure, she had been expecting something or someone. She opened the door to find Evelyn standing there, a serious expression on her face. Marcus stood behind her, his posture tense. "Anya, we need to talk," Evelyn said, her voice firm. Anya stepped aside, letting them in. "What's going on?" Marcus closed the door behind him, his usual calm demeanor replaced by something more urgent. "We've received some intel. There's been chatter about a new player in the game, a group that's been operating in the shadows, watching and waiting. Anya frowned. A new player? What do they want? Evelyn exchanged a glance with Marcus before answering. They're after the amulet, Anya. And they're not just another criminal organization. This group is different, smarter, more organized. They've been tracking the amulet for years, even before the Triad got involved. Anya felt a knot form in her stomach. Do we know who they are? Not yet, Marcus replied, his voice grim. But we've heard whispers, rumors of a secret society that deals in ancient artifacts and mystical powers. They're called the Black Crescent. The Black Crescent, Anya repeated, the name sending a shiver down her spine. What do we know about them? Not much, Evelyn admitted. They're extremely secretive, and their operations are well hidden. But they're powerful, and they've got resources we can't even begin to imagine. Anya sat down, her mind racing. The Triad had been a formidable opponent, but this sounded like something entirely different, an enemy with the knowledge and means to exploit the full potential of the amulet. What do we do? Anya asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. We need to go on the offensive, Marcus said, his eyes hard. Find out who they are, where they operate, and what their endgame is. If they're after the amulet, they'll come for you sooner or later. We can't afford to wait. Evelyn nodded in agreement. We've already started gathering intel, but we'll need your help. Anya, you've been through more than any of us, and you understand the stakes better than anyone. Anya looked at her friends, the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. She had fought hard to protect the amulet, but now it seemed that her battle was only just beginning. The Black Crescent represented a new kind of threat, one that would require all of her skills, wits, and courage to overcome. I'm in, Anya said, her voice filled with resolve. Whatever it takes, we'll stop them. Evelyn smiled, relief and determination in her eyes. Good. We'll start by tracking down their operatives, those we know are connected to them. We'll follow the trail, find out what they're planning, and put an end to it before they can get their hands on the amulet. Marcus pulled out a map, spreading it across the table. We've marked a few locations where we believe they're operating. We'll need to move fast and strike before they realize we're onto them. Anya studied the map, her mind already formulating a plan. The Black Crescent might be a dangerous adversary, but she had faced danger before. She would not let them take the amulet or threaten the safety of those she cared about. As they planned their next moves, the room filled with a sense of urgency. The new game had begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. Anya knew that they were up against a powerful enemy, one that would stop at nothing to achieve its goals. But she also knew that she wasn't alone. With Evelyn, Marcus, and the rest of their allies by her side, Anya was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The battle with the Triad had been just the beginning. The true test was only now starting. As the night wore on, the three of them finalized their plans, preparing for the next phase of their fight. The Black Crescent might be lurking in the shadows, but Anya was ready to bring them into the light. The game was on, and Anya Ivanova was determined to win no matter the cost.